It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Well, folks, he was our Attorney General for almost 8 years. Now he's the governor of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and that's Governor Tom Corbett. He is my guest today on the Sam Lesante Show. Governor, it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Sam, it's nice to be back on.
Last time we talked, you were the Attorney General.
Over a year ago we talked.
Yes.
That's exactly
now you're
right.
the Governor of Pennsylvania.
That's right.
Next, you'll be the President of the United States.
No. This is it. No desire to be president. I don't know how people do that.
Well,
how do you run all around the country? It was enough running all around the state.
I'm just saying, you're running all around the state of Pennsylvania.
That's
so,
absolutely, yeah.
When we talked about, when you ran for Attorney General, you sat here and we talked about you had different objectives that you wanted to accomplish as Attorney General. And you accomplished those objectives. Now, we talked last year about the governorship, all right? And you campaigned on a number of issues. Fiscal responsibility was one of the most important things that you talked about. Now, it's always good to talk about different things and what you're going to do. It's like, you know, you anticipate buying a new car or a home, and then all of a sudden you get in the car and say, oh, I didn't know this was here. Oh, geez, this is this, and wow, I didn't know about that. So now you sat as governor. Was it as bad? Was it good? How did you find things?
Well, that's a very broad question. In some respects, it's very, very good. I mean, this is a great state. We have great people. I think we have a great future ahead of us. We have to create jobs. We have to create more jobs. But I believe, and I'm sure we'll get into it, we have the potential to grow a lot of jobs in Pennsylvania if we create the right business environment. If we create an environment for business, the people who are here in business in Pennsylvania, who may want to come here or start a job here or keep a job here, if they know that they're going to have lower taxes, if they know that regulations are going to be enforced consistently across the state, fairly across the state, and that's what I campaigned on, that's what I was going to do, and I believe we've started that process. But one of the things that we had to do was deal with the fiscal issue of the state. And a lot of states are in problems. But when I came into office, and we knew it as I was campaigning, we were looking at a $4.2 billion deficit. We had increased spending from $22 billion in Pennsylvania in 2002, 2003 to just shy of $29 billion in last year's budget. And that was unsustainable. Every fund of money that we had was used. There was no money left, and we were spending beyond our means. I promised that we would reduce the spending and reduce the budget of Pennsylvania. Took it from just shy of $29 billion to $27.124 billion with the legislature. Also, got the budget done on time, which was the first time in 9 years. And I think the people of Pennsylvania, I know the legislature appreciate it. It wasn't easy to get it there. It was very difficult. It's very difficult on a lot of people. I understand that. But you have to, as a government, have your fiscal house in order so that you can continue to grow in the future. You can't continue to spend and spend and spend or tax your way out of it. You know, taxing does not create jobs. It kills jobs.
So your main priority, okay, that you looked at when you became the governor was fiscal responsibility, right?
Well, I would say it's jobs, but that's really dependent upon if a state that's being run fiscally sound.
All right. So let's talk about, to get to the jobs in a second, because I always think they punish the people who want to create jobs, you know, especially the small business person. You know, they make it difficult for them to create the jobs, and that's always been a pet peeve of mine. But before we get into that, education reform, there's this, you know, there's a new project that you're working on, the vouchers and different areas of concern in education. Well, how do you see the state going in education?
Well, first off, let's step back from it and say, are we doing well in education? And I think the answer to that is no. We have school districts in major cities across Pennsylvania that have a dropout rate of close to 50%. The problem when you have a dropout rate like that, those people who drop out at some point in their life tend to become clients of the state, either through the welfare system or through the corrections system. If you look at the budget of Pennsylvania, the two biggest sections of the budget are welfare and corrections. The other section is education. So you have to do something long-term to reduce that dependency on being clients of the state, and that's by getting more children to graduate from high school. That's why we're taking a look at the education reform. There's 4 elements that I introduced in my plan. One element is teacher evaluation. Right now, we evaluate teachers that are either satisfactory or unsatisfactory, pass, fail. 99% of the teachers in Pennsylvania, 99.3% of the teachers in Pennsylvania are considered to be satisfactory. There's not another profession in the world that 99.3 people out of 100 are considered to be satisfactory. But why aren't there gradations of that? So we can evaluate these people. So we said we need to work on that. Same with the administrators. Over 99% of them are satisfactory. I don't think anybody in the state truly believes that we have 99% of the teachers, 99% of the administrators are satisfactory. There are many, many that are. But we know that there are some that really shouldn't be in the profession, should be moved out. So we said teacher evaluation is important. We took a look at the education income tax credit, something that started 15 years ago under Governor Ridge, or about 15 years ago. Heavily used. It's money that businesses can give and get a tax write-off to various schools, public or private schools or charter schools. Well received, is demonstrating significant improvement of schools. So, well, that's a good way to improve other schools, so let's increase the amount that can be written, the total amount that will allow for a write-off. So that movement is going to go from about 75 million up to maybe 100, 125 million. The companies across the state will be able to contribute. We looked at the charters, and you know, the last time we had any kind of school reform issues was back in the Ridge administration. The charter schools are growing in Pennsylvania, and they're being created by parents and teachers in a school. We said, you know, it needs to be tweaked a little bit. There needs to be a little more accountability, so they need to meet certain criteria. We think there ought to be a state authorizer at the state level, including, I think that the state system of higher education ought to be able to be an authorizer to help create charter schools that would be feeders to them. So we're taking a look at that. And then finally, we said we think that children that are attending the worst schools in the state, 145 worst schools built, not school districts, schools, buildings in Pennsylvania. The children in those buildings ought to have the ability to take the money that the state sends to that district and take it to another public school district if they want, to a charter school if they want, or to a private school if they want, as long as there are openings for them, that you couldn't force it into another public school and say, well, we're coming, you know, moving from one district, we're just going to send our children to that district. We'll work with that, but we should not be sentencing young people who go to the worst schools to the fact that they can't move to another school. We're not going to allow us to move the state money. It's not moving the local money. The local school district money would stay there. It would only be the state amount that would move to the next school district. That's a comprehensive package. It's a very basic building block to grow education in Pennsylvania, make it more accountable, and then when we finish that, as it goes along, I think as those children grow up, get out into the workplace, they are going to become more productive members of society. I just came from the Keystone Job Corps, as you know, earlier today, looking at young men and women who, many of them had dropped out of high school. They've changed their life around. They said, you know what, I'm going to go get a trade. I'm going to go get a skill. I'm going to learn how to do something to get a job. They're there voluntarily on their own. After they dropped out, they realized dropping out wasn't the smartest thing to do. Not all of them dropped out. Some of them are actually in college and decided, I don't want to do this, I want to learn a trade. Those are people that are going to have jobs that will be productive. They won't be those clients of the state. And when we reduce the amount of money that is being spent for clients of the state, as I call it, we can spend that money, we can move it over to students of the state to increase education.
In doing that, some people felt that you were anti-union, okay, with the Teachers Association. Also, that's one, you know, are you anti-union? Because you wanted the vouchers and, you know, private schools and charters. Second thing is, are our school districts too big in the state of Pennsylvania? Hold that thought. Folks, I'm talking to Governor Corbett on the Sam Lesante Show. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. Don't forget 24/7 SSPTV.com. Over 1 million hits. Thank you so much. You can watch this show anywhere in the world, 24/7 SSPTV.com. My guest today, Governor Tom Corbett. Okay, Governor, we talked about what you wanted to do with the schools. In initiating this, immediately teachers thought you were anti-union. You're not for them. You want So it was all this controversy. Where do you stand on that?
Well, first off, number one, I'm not anti-union. I was a member of PSCA when I was a teacher at Pine Grove Area High School in Schuylkill County back in the 70s. Secondly, PSCA endorsed me twice. Not in the most recent election, but in both runs for Attorney General. If they thought I was anti-union, I don't think they would have endorsed me for Attorney General. What I am is pro-children, pro-kids, pro-education for our kids. I'll go back to this dropout rate. That, to me, is the failing measure. People ask me, well, how do you know what you're going to do is going to work? Well, we don't know for sure that it'll work. I believe it'll work, but I know what's not working. When you have dropout rates of 40% in a school district like the city of Philadelphia, actually it's higher, that's not working, and it is time to do something different. So I know there are wonderful teachers. I have a lot of friends who are teachers or retired teachers. I know there's good teachers out there. There's actually maybe just a few bad teachers. But the bad teachers shouldn't be listed as satisfactory. We should be able to move them on. We should be able to evaluate them. But we have to get the mindset of it's not the teacher then the child. In my mind, it's the child, the parent, and the teacher in that order.
Yes. You think our districts are too big?
I think we have too many districts. Recently out in Beaver, in the western part of the state, Beaver County, 2 districts had to merge because they didn't have the finances to continue on their own. If you look around, there's probably a number of school districts that are struggling because they don't have the tax base to support everything that they have to pay for. Many years ago, we had consolidation. I think it was back in the early 70s. I'm not proposing, I don't want anybody to panic, I'm not proposing consolidation. But I do believe that at some point in time, school districts are going to have to start talking to each other and saying, we can't continue to do this alone. You have redundancy of buildings, you have redundancy of contracts, you have redundancy of administrative staffs and so forth. We just can't afford to continue to do that.
Okay, Marcellus Shale. Okay, a lot of, here again, why, you cut the deal, you don't want to tax them, you don't want to do this, it's all these kind of things happening where the governor is not taking as much money as he should from the Marcellus Shale people. Okay, let's clear this up.
As much money as he should. First off, let's clear one thing up. The gas is not Pennsylvania's. It is the people who own the land, who own the mineral rights. It's theirs. And guess what? We do tax them. When they get a royalty payment, we tax them. We also tax the industry itself. The businesses that are direct and indirect all pay their corporate net income tax. They all pay taxes. The workers who work there all pay their wage taxes to the state, their state income tax. So we already do this. When people say, well, we need to tax them and it'll solve all of our problems. Well, if you tax an industry at such a rate, they're going to say, why are we here? Why are we going to drill the gas here when we can go to Ohio? They have the same gas. We can do it there. Or we can go back to Texas, or we can go to North Dakota, or we can go anywhere else in the world where there's natural gas. The argument to that is, well, the gas is here. They're not going to go anywhere. The gas isn't going to go anywhere. We need the jobs now. Eventually, would they come and get this gas? Sure. But that's eventually. We need the jobs in Pennsylvania right now. That industry has provided close to 80,000 jobs, indirect and direct, across Pennsylvania in the last 4 years, particularly in areas that have been hard hit for decades. You go to Bradford County, you go to Tioga County, you go to Lycoming County, and you will see growth going on in areas that haven't grown in years. Go to the town of Williamsport. We all know Williamsport from the Little League World Series. Maybe a lot of people haven't been there. Beautiful town. It used to be a thriving town back during the forestry industry and the hardwoods. It hasn't been until now. Right now, it is the 7th fastest growing MDA in the country, because of what we have with jobs that are being created there. When the industry is paying $1 billion, I don't think you say, well, we're going to create a whole brand new tax on a company that's making money and creating jobs. If you do that, well, then I think we need to do it for every company that is making money. I mean, and this is a joke for anybody that's watching this. Hershey makes money, maybe we ought to have a chocolate tax. And the pharmaceutical companies that we're trying to get to move to Pennsylvania from New Jersey because the taxes are too high in New Jersey, well, maybe we ought to get money from them too. It's not that I don't want them to pay their fair share, I certainly do. But I don't want to lose the jobs also. And we have to give them, as any industry, as I said earlier, consistent application of the rules, across the board, fair application of the rules, and tax them like we would any other industry.
Staying on that subject, okay, so far we've seen tremendous success with the Marcellus Shale, like you just said. Lieutenant Governor alluded to the same thing. Why is it, for some reason, and maybe I'm stupid, I don't understand this, why do they pick on, and why do they make the small business people, their lives miserable? I mean, if anything, make us feel good about creating jobs instead of coming in and just making our lives miserable.
Well, and I assume you mean they being government?
Yes.
Well, that's what I ran on last year, and we're trying to govern on now, not to do that. One of the things that I noticed for years, the application of the environmental rules by DEP depended upon who was the director in that region of DEP. They could read the same rule in Wilkes-Barre. It was read differently than it was in Meadville, differently than it was in Pittsburgh, and differently than in Harrisburg. Well, how can that be? It's the same rule. You have to give consistency across the board. You have to be fair in the application. I'm not one that plays gotcha. If you're stepping out of line, let's tell you right now you're stepping out of line when it's a little violation. Don't wait, and then hit them with a bigger violation. Now, if they step out of line big, you hit them big. And I'm the Attorney General that led the battle in the legislature to increase the state laws on clean water so that they equaled the federal laws. You don't hear that mentioned because I'm considered, not to be a friend of the environment. I certainly am. But you have to give us the tools to do it. I've asked for it. We have gotten it. If you take a look at our Marcellus plant, that does exactly that. We're not going to let them pollute the environment. Will mistakes happen? Sure. No industry is mistake-proof. TV isn't mistake-proof.
Oh, yes,
but you
it
get to erase it and start over.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, it always fascinated me. Remember, last year I said to you, I said to you at the time, I said, what happened to common sense? I mean, I could care less if a person owns a business, if they become a zillionaire. I could care less. In fact, I want them to become a zillionaire because they're creating jobs and they're making the economy grow. And if that attitude doesn't change, Governor, we have a problem.
Well, and if you are creating jobs in western Pennsylvania or north central Pennsylvania, northeast Pennsylvania, southeast Pennsylvania, the other regions of the state may not see what you're creating, but it benefits Pennsylvania because those jobs are revenue-producing jobs for the state through taxes, through corporate taxes and personal income tax, and we're treating it all fairly. You can't be looking at this and say, well, what's in it for my region? You have to say, what's in the best interest? And that's what I have to do as governor. What's in the best interest of Pennsylvania as a whole? Because if we can grow jobs in northeastern Pennsylvania, we're doing it through the natural gas industry, those are less people that are going to be on the unemployment rolls. Well, guess what? The rest of the state isn't taking care of those people because they now have jobs.
Folks, I'm talking to Governor Tom Corbett. When we come back, should he privatize the liquor stores? Stay with us. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. My guest, Governor Tom Corbett. Governor, should you privatize the liquor stores?
As I said on break, if I had that magic wand, yes. I don't. It's a legislative issue. They have to do it. I support it. Majority Leader in the House, Mike Turzai, is pushing for it, and I support it. Why? First off, we're one of only 2 states in the country that has a system the way we have it, where we control both the wholesale and the retail side of liquor and wine. We have to change that. We have to get in the 21st century. We already have privatized beer, if you think about it, because we sell it in the beer distributors, we sell it in the taverns. You can buy it when you go get a drink. So it's already privatized. The question is this: do we have a conflict by being in the business in the first place? And I think we do. How do we, as the LCB, control the sale of liquor and really kind of push laws that worry about drinking consumption and DUIs and everything. At the same time, we're the ones that are selling it. And what has really gotten my goat lately is I continue to hear ads from the LCB about their selections of wines and, basically advertising like they have to compete for the consumer. It's a monopoly. They don't have to compete. So what we're doing is encouraging people to drink and telling them don't drink too much. That's a conflict. We need to get out of the business. We have a report that was done. It took quite a while to get it done. It says that through the sale, we can get anywhere between $1.1 and $1.6 billion. Some people say it could go higher. I don't know. I want to get out of the business. The question then becomes, what do you do with the money that you get from that? Many different perspectives on that. You could put it into reducing the unemployment compensation debt that we owe the federal government. You could put it towards the pension problem that we already have. You could put it towards education, or you could put it towards transportation, rebuilding roads and bridges in Pennsylvania.
But are they making money, the liquor stores? Are they bringing revenue into the state of Pennsylvania?
Yeah, they're bringing some revenue into the state, but philosophically, should they be in the business? We will still have that money come in, and there will still be taxes there. Mm-hmm. We will be out of the business of additional state employees, additional state pension. We'll be out of that business, and we'll be looking to, as you said earlier, the private sector, the small business person. I mean, Sam, you could go out and say, I want to bid on a license. I want to have a gourmet wine selection store that's all we sell is wine. We don't want to sell liquor. We want to sell wine. But we want to be able to compete with the people down the street, compete with the people in Philadelphia. We want to make ourselves something. That's what this country was built on.
Let me move on to something else. Any great company, any successful company that I've seen throughout the years, you surround yourself with people who are successful in the areas. When I look at your cabinet and I look at what you've done, I have to commend you, okay? And I'm not endorsing Tom Corbett. I know you for many years. And you've always been truthful right up to the T, and that's what I admire about you being a politician. But I have to commend you on the people that you've appointed in positions, such as Dan Muser, okay? I mean, great man, knows what he's doing, and is there for the Commonwealth. And I think you did a superb job, and I hope they all live up to your expectations.
Well, I want to start off with my lieutenant governor. He won the race, but that's who I really want to see win it in the lieutenant governor's race. You can see the great work he's done. We put him in charge of the Marcellus Shale Commission, did a wonderful job. When it came to all the floods that we had, when it was time to start the recovery, put him in charge of that. He's been leading that charge and doing a wonderful job. Does a great job in the Senate as a presiding officer in the Senate, and I think he's a great team member. The rest of the cabinet, we went very slowly through that. And we took a number of people. We have, from here in the Northeast, Dan Muser at the Department of Revenue. We have Rick Allen at the Department of DCNR, or Conservation Natural Resources. Great people from the Northeast up here. Harry Forbes is my regional director up here. He was a commissioner in Pike County. Somebody who I got to know. Somebody who has maybe as much gray hair as I do. Mm-hmm. I mean, we didn't pick a young cabinet. I picked a middle-aged to older cabinet. My head of Department of Community Economic Development was the chamber president of the State Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Alan Walker, had his own company in Clearfield County. So we have been reaching out to people all across the board with a cabinet that allows me to question them, gives me the information I need, but allows me to make the tough decisions.
Well, I think you did a great job. I'm hoping that it's going to work very well, because I know of your character, and I know what you've done as Attorney General. We want the state, whether you're Democrat, Republican, it makes no difference to me. We want the state to be successful, and you need all the help you can get. Give you a shot at it, okay? After 4 years, you don't do it, Tom, you're out.
That's what we talked about during the campaign.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to tell you what we're going to do, and we're going to do it. And, I think a lot of people were surprised in June. It was, well, he told us he was going to do that. Yeah, that's just the way I am.
You did it. Folks, my guest, Governor Tom Corbett, I've never asked him any question that he's never given me the true answer for. And when he says he's going to do something, folks, he did it. I want to thank him for coming on the Sam Lesante Show. Good luck to you, and say hi to your family, okay?
Thanks, Sam.
Remember, 24/7 SSPTV.com. We'll see you next time.